Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. One day Stalin went to Hitler and said, "Would you like to hear a knock-knock joke?" Hitler said, "Sure." Stalin said, "Knock knock." Hitler said, "Who's there?" Stalin said, "Stalingrad." Hitler said, "I don't get it." Stalin said, "Exactly." Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of Stalingrad, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Pavlov's House from DVG. In Pavlov's House from DVG, players are going to take on the roles of the Soviet defenders of a central building in the middle of the city as they attempt to stave off various waves of German attacks during that fateful battle. The game board consists of three parts. On one side, you have an operational map in which the Soviets are attempting to reinforce the defenders of Pavlov's House over the river. Then you have kind of a tactical map of the various German soldiers and tanks attempting to advance on Pavlov's House. And then finally you have what's going on inside of Pavlov's House as well, as the brave Soviet defenders are moving from window to window attempting to defend their position. Now first off, players are going to have the Soviet card phase. Essentially you draw 4 of the Soviet cards, and each card is bisected into 2 halves with different actions on them. Of those 4 cards and those 8 options, you can do 3 actions. So you choose what 3 actions you want to do. The 62nd Army card will let you recover a disrupted token. It will also let you prepare supplies to send to the Pavlov's defenders in the house. And it will also let you initiate a storm group, more on that later. The 13 Guards Rifle Division Command Post card will let you reinforce Pavlov's House with more people. It will also let you recover if there's a disrupted token on that as well. The 8th Guard Sapper Battalion will essentially allow you to introduce these sappers, these engineers, that will help to either repair parts of the house or will be able to create kind of last-ditch defenses of the house against the encroaching Germans. The 139th Signal Battalion will essentially allow you to take off disrupted tokens from the communications. It will also allow you to place one of those tokens on communications. If you get 4 on them, that gives you 4 of these kind of operational actions to take instead of just the 3. It will also allow you to take Fog of War cards, which pop up in that deck, which give you nothing, just take up space. You can actually take those and remove those from the deck, temporarily at least. The 32nd Guards Artillery action lets you either remove a disrupted token on the artillery spots or place a new artillery token, which will help you fire artillery later in the game. The military Volga flotilla will essentially focuses on 3 of spots that are the river crossing. Now, the Germans can disrupt those. The card will allow you to remove the disruption tokens, or it will allow you to place supplies that you've accrued onto the river, and then it will also allow you to take tokens on the river and place them in Pavlov's house. The 267th Anti-Aircraft Battalion will let you either place anti-aircraft tokens or remove disrupted tokens from their spots. Now, after you have taken those actions, now it's the time for the Wehrmacht to attack you. Now, the German deck, the Wehrmacht deck, is divided into different sections, so it's going to get harder as the game progresses. But you're going to draw 3 cards, and you're going to deal with it. Now, some of the cards will actually put out figures on the board. Now, these figures can be machine gunners, they can be riflemen, they can be runners that are slowly approaching along different tracks toward Pavlov's house. You don't want them to get close. There eventually will also be armor elements that will come down there as well. But also some elements, some cards will attack the house. Now, you've got these on the 3 sides, you've got kind of up to a level 6 in defense strength, and they can try to knock those down to make it easier to take out your guys later. You have things like mortars, which can actually suppress your guys in the house, meaning they don't take damage, but you can't use them next turn. You have to use your actions to essentially get rid of the suppression tokens. You also have Stukas, which can attack. Now, when you do the Stuka attacks, you essentially roll, it says a number of Stukas that are coming at you. Now, if you have anti-aircraft guns, you can roll, I think, 2 die to try to take them out. If you hit it, I think, a 4 or better, you take them out, and that's 1 less Stuka that attacks you. Otherwise, if the Stukas get through, you roll 3 die, and then depending on what the sum of those 3 die are, you look on that operational map, you see which number it corresponds to, and that places a disrupted token there, and that's what you're going to remove with some of those other Soviet cards. Now, occasionally in that Wehrmacht deck, you'll get resupply cards. And these resupply cards essentially require you to feed everybody in the house. Now, you're going to have various tokens on the house representing your people, and you have to be able to feed them. I believe one food stuff feeds, I think, 5 of them. And if you don't have enough to feed them, then you have to start eliminating guys. Now, that card, that resupply card, flips over. It becomes a storming group card. More on that later. Now, next you have the Soviet counter phase. Now, you've got your Soviet counters. These are your Pavlovian defenders in the house who are firing at the Wehrmacht. Now, they can take shots at the Wehrmacht. You've got most of these guys have kind of an attack value and a suppression value. You can try to attack them. You can try to suppress them. Now, I should point out too, when the Wehrmacht cards are approaching, you may have some suppression tokens, and this is during the Soviet counter phase. You actually have to go and send these guys to get suppression tokens that they can then bring forward based on that suppression number on their counter to have kind of in the different spots. Now, just like in Castle Itter, you've got the kind of the different colors. Here you've got the puce color, the purple color, and the green color. And these colors are essentially line of sight. They tell you where in the house can shoot on which tracks. But you also have suppression areas. You can put suppression tokens in there. When ammo comes across from the river, it becomes suppression tokens, 5 suppression tokens, I believe. And what that means is when a Wehrmacht card is going to come out, you can roll to see whether he doesn't come out, whether you've suppressed him or not. So that's another way to keep those guys off the tracks. But they'll run out quickly. So you've got the suppression. You can, as I say, shoot at them, in which case you're trying to see their defense number. You're trying to roll that or greater than their defense number, and you can remove them from the track. Now, some of the characters will also be capable of doing certain things, like handling machine guns, which will give you, better chances to roll a number of die in order to take one of those guys out. You roll a number of die, and then whichever die hits that number, you don't add them together. So if an attack value is 2 and you roll 2 die, you don't add them together. You just see is at least one of those die hitting their defense value or greater than defense value to take them out. As I say, some of the guys can carry machine guns. You can put 2 guys in the same location to work a machine gun. If you use that, though, it exhausts them both. You can go ahead and put 2 guys on an anti-tank gun. Same thing. If you do that, it exhausts them both. Some guys have a command symbol, which means essentially you can flip them over to ready 3 other guys. They're exerting their command to make other guys ready or to remove disrupted tokens. There's also a forward observer action, which you can use that artillery to fire at certain spaces on the board. There are certain other actions. You can put some people into storm groups, which means it's kind of a suicide mission. They're storming to another side. It's kind of a way to gain more points to try to win the game higher if you can kind of storm and take out the enemy, drive the war home to them, so to speak. There are also first aid tokens that can come, that you can use those first aid tokens to attempt to, if somebody's going to be killed, you can go ahead and heal them with that first aid token so they don't die. But the guys, the characters in the house, they all have kind of dots, which represent kind of their rank. Like I say, when you spend one of your Soviet cards for reinforcements, you can, I think, bring in 6 reinforcements, but that's 6 dots worth of reinforcements. So some of these guys with some of these more attributes are a little more expensive to bring in than others. You've only got 3 Soviet counter actions. So between readying guys that have been exhausted, because once you fire with them, you flip them over to the exhausted, between readying them, and then you can't fire with them that turn, and between removing disrupted tokens, there's not a whole lot you can do every turn. You have to be very judicious in how you use your actions in order to keep the Wehrmacht away from the house. Now, the game ends in one of 2 ways. If the any Wehrmacht soldier or tank makes it all the way to the front line of that track and then advances again into the house, you have lost the game. It's over. But if you are able to get through the entire Wehrmacht deck and they have not penetrated the house, then you win. But depending on different factors, you're going to score differently. Essentially, you're going to total the points from the storm groups. When you send out storm groups, that's going to add to your score. You're also going to get points for every Soviet counter that you have on the board. But you're going to deduct points for any Wehrmacht counters that still remain on the board. If you have at least a score of 1, you've won the game. If it's -9 to 0, you have a draw. Anything greater than that, like -10 or greater, you lose the game. So if you can succeed in holding off the Wehrmacht and keeping them out of the house and scoring at least 1 point, then you win Pavlov's house. So last year I played Castle Itter. which is I think the more recent title that came out from DVG. And it's very similar. It's pretty much the same system. These two games have the same DNA. Castle Itter, of course, is you're defending that castle in Austria, I believe, right at the end of the war from the SS. You've got Germans and Americans and French and an Austrian working together to defend the castle from the SS. It's very interesting history and very interesting game. Battle of Stalingrad, of course, is very interesting. One of the, if not the largest battle of the entire war, land battle. And absolutely chilling battle. If you've ever read anything about it, it's just a apocalyptic battle. And this particular bit of history of Pavlov's house and the defenders of Pavlov's house is very interesting as well. And there's some notes and stuff on that in the game. But the gameplay here it's really simple. You're just trying to keep the bad guys out of the house, and you're trying to use your actions and your resources to your best ability in order to make that happen. So it's a very simple game in that respect, and yet there is a very deep and complex strategy. Now this is, of course, solitaire game. You can play with more players here, but it's hard. It feels like it's a solitaire game. And I played it a few times now. There's other things going on here too. I didn't mention the tactics cards which come out, and the German tactics cards say, well, this turn the Germans can do this or they can do that, or just other things to screw you. Then there's also was it operation supply cards? I can't remember, the Soviets that give them things too. So there's other stuff here, and you can play with them or not play with them. But the game itself is filled with tough choices. Every turn you're sweating. Well, do I want to get rid of these disrupt tokens so I can put out anti-aircraft guns? Because I know those Stukas are going to come and screw me if I don't, because they will. They'll rain hell on you. Or do I desperately need to get more food and ammunition over to the house? Which do I play? Which card do I play? Which action do I play? So some real tough choices there. Tough choices, of course, are the mark of any good game. And that's very, very well done here. I really like the three maps. I like how you get this kind of operational view of the war, and then you get the kind of the tactical level of the war to the point where you're down in the house. I just like that. I wish there's more games that could kind of integrate a strategic level or operational, or maybe even a strategic level, then an operational level and tactical level, so you're fighting all through. I mean, that'd be really cool if you could find a fun way and thematic way to fit all of those into a game. But this game does it well. I really got a kick out of that. So needless to say, I'm a big fan of Pavlov's House. This is another amazing game from David Thompson, who's a great designer, and from DVG. Just fell in love with this game. Now, here's my dilemma. What do I like better? Do I like, you're coming to me and you're saying, Cody, I really want to get one of these solitaire games, but I don't have money for both. Which one do I get? Do I get Pavlov's House or do I get Castle Itter? Now, I would have sworn nothing could have topped Castle Itter. I know this game came out first, Pavlov's House came out first, but I played Castle Itter first. And I thought, nothing's going to top Castle Itter. I don't know that Pavlov's House does. I don't know that I like Pavlov's House better. But I might. Because, again, I really do like that kind of operational choices and then tactical choices. I really like that a lot, and how one affects the other. This is just... I don't know. I don't know what I'd tell you. I guess I'd have to say what history interests you more. Do you want to play out this epic battle, or do you want to look at this, explore this more obscure history, which is very interesting? And they're both so much fun. They're both so much fun. Years ago, I was never much of a solo gamer. I never cared much for solo gaming. But this is a game that, every time I think about it, gosh, I want to play that again. I want to play it again. It's so well done and so much fun, and there's so much. Well, I'm just rambling now, but I just want to convey how much I really love this game. I have got absolutely no problem recommending this game, and saying you're going to want to buy it. If you're looking for a good, strong, solitaire war game that you're going to learn a thing or two about history, but critically you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to really feel like you're holding a position here. You're desperately, you get, the theme comes through so well. You've got that desperate struggle here. I can't say enough good things about this game. Really enjoy Pavlov's House. I think it's a phenomenal game that you will really get a kick out of. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Pavlov's House is yes, 100% buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We'd also ask you to check out my other YouTube channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where I talk about military history and stuff just like this. And we talk about the books on military history and just kind of different thoughts about it. So please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel as well. I'd also ask you to please leave a thumb on Board Game Geek for this video. That will also help us out a ton. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. And there were these 3 Germans that were sitting around in a bar, and they're telling stories about World War II. They're telling jokes about World War II, and they lost it.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Go to the Southwest Pacific Theater, down to Papua New Guinea.
Ooh, good shot.